Okay, we start. Good evening, Maria. Good evening, Flora. And good evening, Diego. And a great good evening to everyone. We are very happy that the three co-founders of the dance group Tribute Convey accepted our invitation to talk at the Multicultural Corner. The dance group has been one of our important cooperators since 2019. They performed at many of our previous events, such as the Spring Festival celebration and the Mid-Autumn Festival celebration. Their dances are creative, dynamic, and graceful. They have been well received by our audience. Today, they will give us an introduction to their traditional dance, cumbia. So welcome, Maria, Flora, and Diego. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the West Island Chinese Community Center for this invitation, as well as the Montreal Confucius School to invite us to participate into this event. My name is Diego, and I'm here with Maria and Flor. We are all three co-founders and co-directors of Tribu Cumbe, which is an artistic organization, non-profit organization based in Montreal. And we're inspired by all different kinds of modern expressions called contemporary expressions, but from Colombian traditional dances as well. I'm going to share my screen. So we have prepared a presentation tonight, some slides that will allow you to see more of these traditions that we'd like to share with our public. So yes, I can screen. Yeah, perfect. So today we're going to talk about the cumbia, the origins of this dance and this cultural expression, as well as the meanings that this cumbia, or this expression, this cultural element, cumbia, comes from Colombia, and we can see it in many places in the world. So concerning Tribu Cumbe, regarding Tribu Cumbe, I would invite Maria to tell us a little more about our group first. Welcome, Maria.
Sure. Thank you so much, Diego. So yes, before we begin, I'm going to introduce our group and us three. So the three co-directors of the group Tribu Cumbe. As we mentioned prior, we are Diego, Flor, and Maria. As the tribe, as we like to call it, we've been active since 2017. We're an registered artistic organization, and our mission is to create choreographic works that are rooted in the essence of traditional Colombian dance and contemporary expressions. So in that sense, our proposed approach or artistic approach is a fusion or a combination of two very important elements. This blend presents an approach to movement that is imbued with the Colombian tri-ethnic heritage, which is composed of African, indigenous, and European descent, and is fused with contemporary dance technique. We are in Montreal, and we also have other backgrounds in dance, hence these backgrounds that we do incorporate in our technique. Thus, the objective of the tribe is to preserve and transmit a rich cultural heritage while contributing to its ongoing evolution. In the context of our artistic proposition, we do showcase of choreographies, so dance pieces that we create and that we present on stage. And we also do cultural mediation, which is in the form of workshops, of dance classes that we give to all types of publics in order to introduce them not only to dance, but also to Colombian dance and Colombian folklore. Our dancers are from different cultural backgrounds, have very different nationalities. Just to give you some examples, we are not only Colombians in the group, even though we work with Colombian traditional dance. We do have people from Mexico, we have people from Congo. We have people from really all across the globe. So it's a very diverse group. We have performed in multiple festivals. Here, of course, in Canada and Montreal, such as the Canadian Latin Awards, the International Festival in d'Afrique, Weekend du Monde, and also in some international festivals, such as the Beijing International Tourism Festival. So we have, and we are continuing to grow as the tribe that we are. And we are very much looking forward to share a little bit more about what inspires us in our traditional dance. I'm going to maybe give my colleagues, if you want to know a little bit more about us, how we started with dance and what drives our passion. So I'm going to let Diego give us a few words about how he ended up in the tribe and how he ended up dancing.
Sure. Thank you, Maria. Yes, actually, I started dancing when I had, I think, 18 or 16 years old in Barranquilla, in the city of Barranquilla, which is situated in the Atlantic coast region of Colombia. And my experience in dancing is mostly folklorical dancing, mostly like popular, as a part of my popular cultural background or experience in my country of origin. So that's my story about that. So how about Flor?
Okay, thank you, Diego. I've been dancing for forever. I've been dancing since I was 6-7 years old. Yes, I really enjoy dancing. Dancing, I think, is the first thing that I learned. And actually, it's my favorite thing to do right now. Dancing is my life. It's my breath. So it's like that. So I love it a lot.
Thank you so much, Flower. And same for me, actually. I think we're all very passionate about dance in general. So I also started quite young with Colombian folklore. I got to learn it more when I was a teenager, but I also learned other techniques such as street dance, contemporary. So that's why that's what drives us, just being able to dance, being able to keep creating. And that's really a little bit of our background. I'm going to pass it on to Diego now to continue with our presentation.
Sure, thank you very much, Maria and Flor. And since we have been mentioning our country of origin from the beginning of this presentation, our country, Colombia of origin, now we are also in Canada, so we are Canadian Colombian. I think it could be a good idea to show a little bit more of Colombia or to share more information about this country to the public, to the people who's looking this presentation. So maybe, yes, Flor, I would like to invite Flor to give us a brief description of Colombia.
Sure. The country is located at the heart of America's continent. Its territory connects to the central and northern part of the continent, as well as through the Caribbean islands. So due to its central position and according to archaeological finds, Colombia has been a corridor of human civilization for 20,000 years before present. So the next slide, Colombia has the second highest level of biodiversity in the world. It means diversity of animal and vegetal species. And is one of the world's 17 megadiverse countries. By megadiverse, we mean the home for the majority of species on Earth and species that are only found in their territories. So the next slide. Colombia is the only country in South America with coastlines and island along both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The country has a great variety of ecosystems, spanning from tropical beaches and forests. to highland valleys and mountain ranges with some snowy peaks, as well as grasslands, deserts, and a part of the Amazon rainforest. So the country has a population of more than 52 million people, and 75% of the people live in cities. As you can see, some cities are located in Highland Valley, like the city of Medellin, and others were settled in front of the Caribbean Sea, like Cartagena. The capital of Colombia is Bogota, with more than 10 million people. Colombia is ethnically diverse. Its people descend from ancient indigenous First Nations, European, and African that started arriving 500 years ago during the colony, and immigrants from Europe and West Asia that arrived more than 100 years ago. So all these ethnic groups contribute and still contribute to a diverse cultural heritage, and his blending diversity results into many cultural expressions. A good example of this cultural mix is the cumbia, precisely. I would like to invite Diego to show us more about it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Flor, for this explanation of Colombia, our diversity, not only in topographical or geographical aspects and biodiversity aspects, but also in concerning ethnicity or regarding people that come from different parts of the world. So yes, the cumbia is a result of this mixture. The cumbia, the word cumbia comes from, according to many folklorists and musicologists, the word cumbia seems to derive from cumbe, cumba, or ncumbi, which are words in African languages, specifically the Bantu language from the central and the southern part of Africa, the linguistic family Bantu. And these words could mean dancers, drums, or joyful celebration. So cumbe means dance, drums, and joyful celebration. And during the present time, and nowadays, and from a general perspective, the cumbia refers to a number of musical rhythms and folkloric dance traditions, not only for Colombia, but also for other countries in Latin America. And generally, it involves musical elements mixed, blending those elements from the indigenous sources, African and Spanish sources. Since the 1940s, 1940, the last century, 20th century, the cumbia, the rhythm itself, expanded from Colombia to other places in Latin America and the world. So that's the part of which we call, from the musical perspective, the commercial expansion of modern cumbia. And people used to, since the 1940s, people in different countries like Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, United States, Mexico, Uruguay, Peru, started doing cumbia from their local and more particular perspective, and giving some touches or some elements from their countries. So the cumbia became like the salsa that was born in the Antilles. Now the cumbia in the 40s, and that at that moment spread all around America and started to receive other kinds of influences. But in this presentation, we will consider only the Colombian cumbia, or specifically the Colombian cumbia, which is also, as I mentioned, which is also a folkloric dance, and that's what we are doing, and that's what we love to do in Tribu Cumbe. One of the dances that we perform is if we would like to share more about the origins of cumbia, we should mention 200 years of existence. It comes from the northeast part of the Caribbean coast region, and around the Magdalena River, which is a very important river in Colombia. So there are many ethnic groups from before the colony that were performing and doing, having cultural and musical expressions that were kind of similar to the cumbia, but there is another important element, the African element. Some folklorists say that the origin is more indigenous, others say it's more African. There is still a discussion, a debate about that, which is very interesting is that when we hear all this music together, we can see those origins blended. So the gaita, the flauta de millo, those instruments accompanied by the rhythms of maracas and drums, they welcome the strength and the cadence of the African drums that we call alegre, llamador, and of course the the dressings, or maybe how can I say, the costumes. The costumes were more Spanish or more European. So you can see in the picture many of those elements, and it would be very nice if we can hear a little bit of cumbia. I think it could be a good idea. So let me share with you some examples of cumbia from the musical perspective. Here we have one of those. You will see the elements in this video, and I will do some comments at the end. In this video, we are seeing a group, a very famous group, which is called the Gaiteros de San Jacinto. They are playing in Bogotá, in the capital of Colombia, in the mountains. And you can see many of the traditional instruments of the cumbia, which are the maracas. You're seeing the maracas. Those long flutes are called gaitas. There's a gaita, female gaita, and a male gaita. Female gaita is shorter and the sound is more higher, a higher pitch. You see other instruments, drums, tambora, and alegre. And I would like to share another piece of music, another song, which is very, very special because it was interpreted by Totola Momposina, which is one of the biggest singers in Colombia, folklorical singers in Colombia. And she was born in a region, El Banco Magdalena, Mompox in Magdalena, that is this city is in the region where some people say cumbia was originated. You can see this cumbia with singers this time. Sorry, there was a technical problem here, but because okay, you already see, or we could see this music, these instruments, and now we were going to see the dance. But before seeing the dance and appreciate all the dancers, all these movements, I would like to to invite Flor, who's going to explain to us the different elements of the dance. Maybe you could see a little bit of the dance here in the night. Usually they were dancing cumbia at the origin of this rhythm at night because of will explain us a little bit of it, more about it. So let's talk about dance. I would like to invite Flor to tell us more about it.
So dancers share with the beat of the drums and carry candles that the men utilize to gain the attention of their beloved. So women wear an ample skirt that highlights their imposing cadence. So they are the queens of the cumbia, and they become the center of attention with their grace and sensuality. Men wear a traditional hat called sombrero volteado, and seek the approval for their partner by showcasing fitness and dexterity. Men and women don't touch each other in the cumbia, but their magical movement and gaze create a constant connection. This is the cumbia cultural patrimony of Colombia.
Thank you, Flor. Yes, of course. And from a personal perspective, could you please tell us more about the feeling that you have when you dance cumbia, all this magical aspect, all this personal aspect when would you perform this dance?
Yeah, sure. This dance projects sensuality. The woman is so serious, is so proud of herself, and dance with dance with sensuality, but it's not. There are not many movements, so women is so calm. But opposite to men the men move a lot in order to conquist his woman. So in order to conquist his woman, his movement is so in Español is alborotado. That means it's so the movement is so
vigorous, so fast, vigorous.
Yeah, that's the word that I find. So it's so vigorous. Then finally the men conquist women. At that date, there isn't a highlights. There isn't a electrical light. So at that time, men used highlights. So
candles.
Candles. So most the candles, more possibility men has to conquist the women. So yeah. It's a little hard to women with one hand to keep candles, but that means more candles, more possibility to men to conquist the women. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Flora. That's very true. When we dance cumbia, there is like a seduction part, but also an elegant part. We're trying to conquer women. We're trying to please women. Men are trying to catch the attention of our partner in the dance. So yes, let's see some examples. Thank you for those explanations. Thank you for those informations. And now we could see some examples. Well, we have some pictures here from Tribu Cumbé at the right, our right, and the dance that we wanted to share with you, it was okay, we have many dances from Tribu. We just want to show one more initially more folklorical, and we could see here this is she's a queen from a carnival of Barranquilla in 2012.
I think we have a little bug on Diego's side.
Sorry, Maria.
Oh, just sorry. It's because I couldn't hear you for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. We've just seen some examples of, well, actually, we've just seen an example of many examples that we could show you concerning cumbia. In this case, normally, men for the carnival they use like a white shoe, but in the traditional cumbia, men and women dance without any shoes, more barefoot. So in this case, they're dancing because they're in the streets. But in Tribu Cumbe, we dance like the traditional way of dancing, which is barefoot with no any shoe. I'd like to invite Maria to talk more about, or to share us more about our artistic proposal in Tribu Cumbe concerning cumbia. Can you please, Maria, tell us more about it?
Diego, if you let me just say a last thing about cumbia. Cumbia is a type
of course.
Thank you. The cumbia is a type of dance that is mostly danced at night with couples, and the dancer usually dance around the musicians. It's so important for our cumbia, Colombian cumbia. The dance around the musicians is so important.
Yeah, and I think we saw it a little bit in the video that Diego was showing us. We had the musicians there, the presence of the musicians, the presence of the drum. We also saw the different elements that my colleagues mentioned prior, such as the candles that are really a key element in really having the man establish or catch that attention of the woman. So that is a very important element, as you can see here, as well as my colleague Flower mentioned. This is really something that takes place in the evening. It's a celebration, it's a gathering. So that's another element that's quite important. We have the instruments, the beautiful long skirts, the hats that the men also utilize to catch the attention of the woman as well. So the men tend to use different ways, either their movement, the hat, the candle, their endeavor to, their charisma to catch the attention of the woman. And the woman, she plays hard to get, right? She's very elegant, she keeps her distance without giving too much. So these are very beautiful visuals that we have of different renditions of the traditional way that the cumbia would take place here, even on a beach, for instance. So these are some examples.
Oh, yeah.
As you see here, as Diego mentioned, this is more in the context of the carnival. So it's also part of big festivities, big celebrations. We do have this dance become an essential part of these big cultural celebrations as well, such as the Carnaval of Barranquilla, as we see here. So these are all different components of the dance itself that are very much embedded in the culture, are very much embedded in the dance expression. I think Diego is going to show us a little bit more. Here we have a video where we have the traditional aspect, people dancing barefoot, right, on the beach. These are sites and places that are very, that you get to see very much in the Caribbean coast of Colombia, right? So by the Caribbean Sea, as you saw the candles once again. So this is very much the essence of what you would see in a traditional expression of the dance, right? We see the man very active and trying to get that attention, and the woman very beautiful with her skirt. She keeps the distance at all times. And as we said before, as opposed to maybe other dances from Latin America, we're very used to having people, men and women, touch each other, like in salsa, or that are commonly known. This one, touching is not part of it, right? So it's always that play of tension, of keeping that distance and seduction without the actual physical touch. So that is also a part that is quite interesting in this cultural expression, right? And we see this beautiful candle. So when she accepts it, it's in a way, she's slowly accepting the offering of her partner, of the dance partner here. So these are little examples. We can let it play a little bit so you can appreciate different dancers here dancing on the beach.
Okay, sorry. So we just finished that part. That now it's more like carnival. So yes, that's a very important thing that you mentioned, Maria. This contact, this particular, I would say, more spiritual contact, more intentional, or more in the intention, but not in the physical expression. They're not touching. They never touch each other. Actually, when we dance cumbia, men and women, we don't touch each other, but we really do show our intention to please, to communicate, to have fun, to be happy, to feel the music. So that's very particular from the cumbia. So thank you very much, Maria and Flor, for those elements that you shared. And concerning Tribu Cumbe, or regarding specifically Tribu Cumbe artistic proposal, maybe Maria, or would you like to share us more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, of course, as we mentioned initially, with Tribu Cumbe, we do work Colombian traditional dance. It's part of our artistic identity, and part of our objective as an artistic organization is to share that identity, to share that tradition with Montreal and with the world, and to keep expanding it, to keep making it known. Hence, the cumbia is part of the dance repertoire that we have. We have original choreographies of cumbia that we have danced in many contexts. And in that sense, the way we dance our cumbia is very much rooted in the elements that we saw before, so in the traditional elements of the dance. So of course, we have the long skirts, of course, we dance barefoot, we have our partners here, we have Diego walking on stage. So we do have that dance as a couple, and the same concepts that we have of conquest, of trying to seduce and to not give in. We have the candles that come into this choreography later on. So definitely our choreographies are very much rooted in the essence of the tradition. As we are a group that also incorporates more contemporary dance expressions, we'd like to incorporate in our choreographies, yes, those traditional elements, but we're also going to add other elements that come a little bit from a contemporary technique. So you're going to see certain movements, certain interpretation that takes in, for example, a little bit of movement from a dance that we call whacking, which we're going to see here. So this is a piece that's really only women. So this is more of a choreography piece with just women on stage. And in this one, what we went to get is more the elegance and the presence of the woman. So what she is sharing, what she represents as the queen of the cumbia, as we said before. And that's why we added arm movement. We added a lot of circular movement, a lot of different elements, even in the positioning and the way we carry ourselves, to really convey that essence and that identity of the woman who dances a cumbia. So here we see different plays with the skirts, and we're going to see a little bit later, Diego, if you want to go a little bit later in the choreography, that's where we add a little bit of those contemporary elements I was speaking about before. So we kind of can go a little bit midway. Yeah, that's somewhere over there. Yeah. So in those parts, exactly. So we incorporate a little bit more of the arm movement, which you will not necessarily see in the more traditional renditions of the dance, as we saw before. Here we see the reception and kind of that energy that flows through the natural elements that surround you when you dance this type of dance. That's why we have the sea in the background. So these kind of takes, or these choreographic takes, are very much our artistic identity, right? So we like to take those traditional elements of the cumbia and add more contemporary elements to really highlight concepts that characterize the dance, right? So womanhood, elegance, just the play and the flowiness of the movement to invoke the waves, things like that. So this is one example of our take on the cumbia. Of course, as I said, we also like to share and to spread and to present our cumbia in different scenarios, under different formats, I would say. Here we have another example of us presenting cumbia, and this time, as we saw before, we have live musicians with us.
Musicians, yeah.
Exactly. So here we have the different components that we saw before in the other videos. We have live music. We see the different instruments that come back. So the gaita, the drums, and of course we're dancing a cumbia with the musicians in the background. And this was in the context of an event here in Montreal. So these are opportunities where we can show our artistry. We can get to share that Colombian tradition on a stage here in Montreal, and we can highlight both the dance and the music at once. So this is part also of the work that we do. Which is also very interesting, because I'm sure my colleagues would agree. The experiences, depending on where you present a dance, can be quite different. So when you have musicians live, it's a different feel. When you dance the same piece, just women, it's a different intention. When you dance it as a duo with a partner, it's a different experience, right? So that's what's interesting as well, that it's a very live and evolving type of expression. And here we have it. We have three very good examples of three different spaces and three different propositions that we did with the same genre, which is the cumbia, right? So this is a little bit of what represents really our work and the type of work that we do. It's not limited to that. I mean, we've presented the cumbia under many other scenarios and other contexts as well, but it gives you a little bit of an idea of the artistic work and what our cumbia is like. I'll hand it over to Diego now, or Florecita, if you guys want to add anything to this one.
Yes, our cumbia from the tribu Cumbe has not limits. So we have a lot of propositions. So we respect the basis, folkloric basis, but we we like to propose another concept. So that's why our cumbia is so special, because that mix our folkloric traditions with contemporary dance. So that's why it's so special. And as we can see, there is a men. It's just women there. We represent the candles with our hands. So it's contemporary. It's just we represent the elements of the cumbia. So it's so special.
Mhm.
And if I
Yeah.
can add to that, that's a very good point, Florecita Flower. That's what it is. I mean, I think as a challenge when we're creating in terms of arts and in terms of dance, the challenge is when it comes to folklore, you want to keep that tradition alive, you want to keep sharing it, but somewhere along the lines, you also want to innovate and you want to make it your own, right? And I think that's part of the process as well, just in full respect of that tradition. How can we make it our own? And with the tribe, that's been part of the process as well, right? And that's why we have those types of choreographies. We make that cumbia our own by putting our own seal, our own identity on those creations, and being able to propose something that keeps that essence, but also has something very new and very much our style as well. So.
Mhm. Yes, thank you, Maria and Flor. It's very special what we are sharing now, because it's very organic. Actually, at the same time we show this modern part, this contemporary expression through the cumbia, which is a folklorical and a very historical element from our culture. So it's organic because, yes, it's lively, it's sometimes abstract, conceptual, like as you mentioned, Flor, the candles with your hands is very conceptual, and at the same time so people can identify themselves as a dancer from the public with the expressions, because we were discussing with Shufen at the beginning of this presentation that for some cultures the dance or dancing is not for everyone. It's more for artists or for people that are in big theaters or are showing this expression or cultural expressions in big theaters. But for us Colombians, dancing cumbia, it comes from our family, our neighbors, our parties, cultural elements that we live, popular elements that we live every day when we when we were born in Colombia. But when we arrived in Montreal, we took elements that are present in contemporary expressions here in Montreal at the same time. So it's a live tradition. It's a living tradition, the cumbia. And that's all for now. Thank you very much for your attention. This is our contact, Tribu Cumbé, Folklore Colombien Contemporain. It would be contemporary Colombian folklore. And yeah, Tribu Cumbé, thank you very much for your attention. We have a website, which is tribucumbe.com. And we're also in Instagram and Facebook. If you have any question, or you have any, you would like to see our photos, some of our presentations, you could visit our website or on our social networks through Facebook or Instagram. And that's all. Thank you again for this invitation, and we're very glad that we have this time to share more about cumbia and about Tribu Cumbé to all those who are seeing this video, watching this video. Thank you again, Shufen.
Thank you. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Flora. Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much for the excellent presentation. Thank you. And I'm lucky to learn about the rich culture of cumbia. It's a fusion of 3 traditions. It's quite impressive that it's a fusion of 3 traditions. And your dance is a fusion of traditions and modern expression. So it's quite impressive. Thank you very much. Thank you. We look forward to more chances of cooperation in the future. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank
It's my
you. Good
pleasure.
night.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.